So it is Wednesday, August the 15th. We're going to go in and make an inspection of the bees. We have lots of helpers today. So visiting from Switzerland, we have Josué, aka Joe. We also have with us Nadine, aka Nadine. And Kristina is here visiting us today. So lots of helpers. We're going to go in and first take a look at the south hive. This is the most productive hive. Last time we saw that the medium super was hadn't had anything done to it, so we're curious to see what's happening there this time. We're going to start by taking off the roof. A few bees in the roof already, just enjoying the morning. So we're going to set that just over there. We're going to, so now we want to smoke the bees, so just a few shots of smoke here in the entrance. And then what I'm going to do, use this hive tool. I'm going to loosen this top cover, and when I loosen the top cover, give a couple of shots just across the top. Good shots. There we go. Okay. Just you hear the noise of the hive changes a little bit when you do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove this top cover. I'm going to use it as a base when we take the boxes off. So we'll take that up and off. The bees that are on this side, this is going to go down here. I'm just going to gently brush these off of that. Set that down here. Okay, so we're going to start the inspection with this top box. What we know is it's quite heavy with honey, this one. So we're going to lift it down to here, and then we're going to use our towels to cover the exposed parts that remain. So this is going to be probably pretty well stuck, and this box has become quite heavy. There we go. Swing this around. Okay, so the towel is covering that, so the wasps, you can see there's a wasp right there, for example, being bothersome. So the wasp won't be able to get in and wreak havoc in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to inspect this box. This tool allows me to take a frame out and hang it on the side. So this is box number 4 on this hive, and we've numbered the frames. You saw the empty frame before. We number them from 1 to 10, and we put something special in here. So we can also cover half of the box just to keep it. So this is the frame number 10. Use the tool to pull it up. Then we can have a look at it. So I call this the A side and this one the B side. So you can see here where they built out all the honeycomb on those frames that you saw. There's honey in here, so where it's white and capped. There's some others, you can see the nectar. You see it's kind of a liquid in there, shiny. So that's the nectar that they're bringing back from the plants. They put it in there, they work it to get it to the right consistency, they cap it. Some of these cappings broke off, so you see raw honey there. Cappings broke off when I pulled it up. Now we have to estimate the percentage of honey on this one. So this is 10B. So I'm going to say that's about 35%, 10B. So that's what we do basically. We go through one by one. We look at this one. It's also just all honey. And in the other cells, you can see the bees with their heads in the cells, cleaning, working the honey, trying to get it to the right consistency. So here we have more honey. And on the other side, how much? 40, 45. That's 10A. So this one, to give a bit of space, I'm going to hang it on the outside. You see the bees just kind of stick there, right? They're not flying off, they're not getting upset. There's a wasp that managed to get in. Right? Okay, so this is 9. So here you can see a bit better. You see the open cells. You see the honey is kind of golden color? So it's getting close. So it starts pretty clear, and they work it, so this is getting close to getting capped.
But it's not owning yet.
It's not quite yet.
It's nectar.
It's nectar, and then when it's ready, they'll cap it. They'll put these white cappings on it to seal it off. So what percentage do we want to give that one?
Only the what's capped?
Only what's capped.
55.
55, okay, so that's 9B. And then over on 9A, a little bit better. Here's one that's even more complete with honey. It's all looking good. The bees are working on the others with the nectar. You can see the liquid. Over on 8A, not so much. 15. Okay, a lot of nectar in the rest, you see? A A lot of the other cells are
The
full.
thing will be ready by 1 week or?
Well, it's hard to tell. We'll see. When I record it, we'll compare it to last week
Yeah.
and see how much progress they made. Kristina, you want to pull this out? So I've already loosened it, so just yep, pull it up, get a good grip on it. You got it? Okay.
There's nobody here.
So on this side, on the B side, this is number 6. It's fully drawn with comb, but there's nothing in the cells, right?
So they made all that comb.
Yeah, they made it like the same on the other side, right? It's fully drawn. It's called drawn with comb, but there's nothing in it. So this is a good one that's available for them to use.
So why would they draw it and not fill it? Just
It's just because they're working on other stuff. It's just there. Good use.
yeah. Well, at least they have room to
Okay,
expand.
so do the next one. So you take the tool. And what you want to do is just kind of, so put one hand there, or in between these. Here, let me just see for a second. So I won't do it, but if you just kind of do it between these and kind of leverage it a bit like that.
Yeah.
Don't do it, you don't want it to come out too abrupt because the bees will get upset. That's it.
Oh, it's so sticky you can't really do it, bro.
Yeah. Okay, and I'll take the tool, pull it up, and then tell us what you see. So this is 5B. So
Looks
what
like,
percentage of capped honey do we see?
say 30%.
30%, okay, and then
There's
over
a
on
lot of nectar.
and then on the other side. So this is
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. That's like,
6A,
yeah.
90.
90%.
90?
Okay, there you go. Well, you have to be careful putting them back in. You don't crush any bees.
Yeah.
Okay, Nadine, you want to come and do one? So you saw what Kristina did. So you take the tool, just or just anywhere here in the wood, between the wood. Just give it a hold your with that one. Just pull it out a bit so it's not stuck. And the same on that side. That's it. Okay, I'll take that. So you want to pull it up and tell us what you see. So this is 5.
So this one is like almost 95%.
95%, okay, so that's on the B side. And on the A side,
I guess 40 or
right back gently. Nice, slow, easy movements are good. So this next one we put in,
Any new eggs there?
there's probably nothing on it. So this one is a special box for making honeycomb if you want to like give it away with the comb and the honey. So they're meant to put wax in there, draw honeycomb, and then deposit honey in the cells. They're obviously not using this at all. So we're going to leave it for now. And then, so we're just going to quickly finish this box, and then Joe will get you working when we get down below on the where the brood is, because that's really interesting. You'll see there's not that many bees here. When we get down there, there's going to be a lot of bees.
Yeah.
Okay, and then finally on 1A, so we see on this on the B side, it's drawn comb, really no honey at all, tiny bit. So lots of room to add more, and absolutely nothing. See, that's what they started out like before they put the comb on it. Okay, so now what we do is we'll reassemble the box and then move on to the next one.
So do you want to switch some orders?
Yeah. Oh no, they'll go back the same way. This was there just to make sure they have enough room in case they need it. So nothing going on there. So we're going to go directly then to this one. So this is the excluder. So the regular bees, the worker bees can get through these gaps, but the queen bee cannot. You see all the propolis around the edges? Really sticky stuff. Stuff is so incredibly sticky. Okay, so we're going to take this away. A couple of shots of smoke across the top. You see how that clogs it?
So in these boxes, you will not collect the honey at all.
No, don't matter.
Well, these ones, no. There'll be honey. There's a lot of honey in here, especially this one's full of honey, but it's honey that they're going to have for the winter time.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is when it gets really interesting.
But the winter's not even that harsh here, so do they actually hibernate?
Yeah, well, they don't hibernate, but they stay inside. they cluster. So they don't hibernate in the sense of like going to sleep.
Oh my gosh, that's well worked, huh?
So a few more bees around. This back. I always like to leave one frame outside so that we have room to work. Even the bees are sticking to this stuff. So here we are. So this is number 10 of the second box. Relatively little honey here. Let's call that what, 10%?
Yeah.
Bunch of work going on. We don't see the queen there. There's no eggs in those cells. So usually as you get toward the outside, there's less going on. It gets more intense as we get into the middle of the box. So then over on the A side there, so there we have a frame full of honey, close to 100%. Let's call that 95%. A few gaps here and there, but it's pretty much complete with honey.
So many bees.
See that? Joe, I'm going to move out of the way, give you this. So
Okay.
what you want to do, remember, just give it a bit of a separation and
Yeah.
then lift it gently and straight up. We'll come around this side. What you don't want to do in principle is stand in front of the hive.
The entrance.
Because that's their entrance, right? That's their traffic flow.
Yeah.
So try to stay on
Okay.
the other side. Should be okay. Yeah, just pick it straight up. Good. So,
Then,
so this is now 9. So what you see on the B side, the side facing you,
yeah. So the B side, there's a lot of honey.
quite a bit of honey.
Let's say 80%.
So that's looking good. And then what about on the A side? So the A side,
Is fuel, I would say.
100.
Let's give it 100.
That's it?
Do you see any larvae? I don't.
No,
Come on
there won't
this
be any
side.
because it's just so complete with honey.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
you want to
can put it aside or?
No,
you don't
inside.
put it back, but like so that was number 9. So you want to go ahead and do the next one?
Yeah, of course. So facing me is A side.
No, B side.
That's the B
B
side.
side. So it's probably 95%.
Okay, 95% honey. A few
Yeah.
bees.
Bumblebees, 100.
So now what we
Oh no, I didn't.
Here over there.
So it's probably an 85%.
So what I want to show you here, then if you look, so if you look in those other cells, you can see pollen. So you see it's kind of gooey.
In these, you mean?
Yeah, orange, yellowish.
Oh, that's
kind of
pollen.
That's pollen. You
Okay.
see it, Nadine?
Yeah,
So that's also really.
I got it.
Got it?
So this side facing me is still the B side. We didn't mix it.
Yeah. And what we don't want to ever do is reverse it.
Yeah.
Because then the bees get confused.
And
They
we're gonna get
organize themselves.
confused too. So more and more bees.
Yeah. So you have to be careful with your tool. You don't crush them.
Yeah.
If you get the tool kind of in the neighborhood, they'll move around you.
Yeah.
You just don't want to go too fast.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is 10, 9, 8, number 7 on the B side. What do you see?
I see honey. I see. What is this orange thing? Is
Okay, so these ones, these are capped
Okay.
brood. So this is where there's larvae in there that's
Yeah.
pupating. Okay, and what we want to start to do here is look in the open cells and see if there's any sign of eggs.
Okay.
So it might be challenging for you. Let me have a look at it, and it's good in the sun. So what we do see in there, we see some really juicy larvae. So if you look, see the white.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those are larvae. You see they're kind of
Yeah.
curved
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
So, and there's some smaller larvae. If you look down a bit more to the left,
Yeah.
like more recent ones.
Yeah, yeah.
So as the eggs hatch out, they're first quite small, and they get bigger and bigger. There's even some eggs in some of those cells. And at a certain point, they'll cap the larvae. So that's those like orangish yellow ones you see. So Nadine is taking on frame number 6. Probably heavy because there's a lot of honey on that one. Got a good grip. Okay. So, what do you see on the B side? 65% honey, and what about the rest? Get like that. We'll just put it up in the there. So you see all
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
So look in the open cells above where you just put your finger.
We don't have it.
Where you see the white spots in the middle, or
Yeah.
green white lines.
The flowers?
Those are eggs.
Eggs, yeah.
So the queen has laid eggs in there. Those eggs will then start to turn into larvae. So you see larvae in some of the others
Yeah.
in various stages, big ones and smaller ones. And then when they get large enough, they cap them with those yellow caps. So here you can see all the stages of making a new bee, from egg all the way through to capped larva.
Again, 60%.
Yeah, so 60% honey on this one, and then inside the cells,
There
do
is
you see any larvae or eggs?
yeah.
You see some capped brood there.
But here we see. Here is no larva.
Okay, so we see some brood. Here we see a lot of empty cells.
Yeah.
That means previously there was capped larvae, and they've hatched out. The bees have hatched out. And now the queen will come back and lay new eggs from those. Okay, do you want to do the next one, Kristina?
Yeah. Look at that, there's a bee and a wasp fighting.
Oh,
Right there.
who's winning?
Tu peux les
Ok.
tuer? Tu veux les marcher dessus? Hey guys, you have to move.
That's it. Gently. That's it. Okay.
Look, this bee has kind of orange.
Oh, that's a pollen.
That's the pollen, yeah?
Yeah, so it brings it, those are called their pollen pockets. So when they're getting the pollen out there, they put it on their back legs and they bring it back and deposit it in those cells. Pretty cool, huh? There's all different colors. We've seen bright yellow, orange, like brick red, blue, depending on which
Even
flowers
blue,
they
yeah.
go to.
Yeah.
Black. Okay, Kristina. So just put your fingers, they'll move if you just kind of do like so, and we can get our okay. Yeah, that's great. Go inside a bit. Go in here. No, so this is frame number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Turn it toward the sun, or the sun shining on it. So you see all the pollen, colorful pollen in a lot of those cells. All of these cells in here. So we have honey here around. Typical that the honey is on this like crescent across the top. We have a bit of brood production down here, just a little bit of cap brood, and then we have a lot of pollen all through there. So we need to estimate the percentages.
Okay, so about 60% honey, capped honey, and then
then-
capped brood, I would say like
5.
5, and the rest is in progress.
Is pollen.
Pollen, really.
Yeah, so all these are pollen. You see
How
all
do you
those?
know that it's not larva?
Oh, I kind of. It's colorful. The larva is just white.
Okay.
Okay, now that was the B side. So now over on the A side, 100% honey. Right? You see these fat ones, these fat bees? Those are drones. So those are the males. The normal ones, the kind of smaller ones, the worker bees, those are females. It's the vast majority. And then these big guys with the big eyes, those are the male drones.
Okay.
And those are the ones that later in the season, the rest of the bees will kick them out because all they're doing is eating
Oh, there's one.
and watching Netflix.
Beeflix?
Right? Beeflick.
And then I just drop it?
No, I'll take it there. We'll just put it down.
Oh, that smells amazing, this stuff in it.
Yeah. This is, they harvest this propolis. Okay, let me get in there and we'll just finish this off.
Quite a few drones, huh?
Yeah. It's usually about, I think 7 or 8% are drones.
Okay. That's interesting that they kick them out because I guess no bees are really productive over the winter.
Well, they're just eating, right? And they have no value. They can produce more in the spring. They only need them for when they like to impregnate new queens, new virgin queens. So this was the upper brood chamber. We only saw very little brood activity, so making new bees. A lot of honey. So we're gonna now go down into the, let's put this back together.
So it's really the bottom one where most of the
On
bees
this,
get born?
yeah, now, usually during the, let's say the season, it's been these two, pretty equally.
Yeah.
But now in this hive, it's mostly in the bottom because they're storing up here, which is a very typical pattern. Very typical that they'll winter in the lower hive, and then they'll use this one for the food, more so. There's food down there as well. So there's handles
Yeah.
on the bottom. Okay, so do we have another towel? So this is where things are really happening on this side. Okay. So Nadine, give it a few good shots. That's it. See how they're all getting out of the way. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go in and we'll see what's happening here. This has very little honey. In this case, the frames are really light, like really, you know, comparatively light, because this is about bee production and not storage of honey. There's a bit of honey, but relatively little. Okay, lots of bees. Okay, so what do you see on that side?
So on this side there is larvas, capped,
Yeah,
about 60%, 70.
yeah. Do you see any uncapped larvae?
Yes.
Okay, so we have uncapped larvae, and then the bigger challenge, what about eggs? So it'd be like a little white line at the bottom of the whole cell.
Don't see any.
No?
Do you see
Okay.
any?
You can flip it if it's easier for you. Okay, so
There is 40% of capped larvas. And then it's pretty. Oh, then some larvas, some pollen.
yeah, bit of pollen, some uncapped larvae up there, I think. Oh no, not even. Don't see any eggs. There's a guy with pollen on his leg. Do you see him?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This little guy? Okay,
Quite a bit, huh?
good.
Should we put it back?
Yep. Kristina, you want to do the next one?
Sure.
Okay, so this is frame number 10, 9, 8, 7. You have to be really careful on this one in particular because the queen could be somewhere, and we obviously don't want to crush
Oh, I see.
or damage the queen.
So they don't get overprotective about the queen or anything like that?
They do, they follow her around. She doesn't really like feed herself.
Oh, really? They have to feed her?
So there's a small sort of retinue that kind of moves around with her. So straight up. She got a good grip on it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's going to be really interesting. So we're getting into the center of the main brooding chamber.
Okay, so here,
So what do
a
you
lot
see?
of brood.
Lots of capped brood. Do you
Yeah,
see
80%.
Do you see any uncapped larvae?
Not really. On the east side, how's it look, guys?
So what do you think?
With
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, lots and lots of capped larvae, at least 80%. And let's see the rest. Don't let go. So the rest these look like cells. So I see at least one uncapped larva, and so probably the ones that are open is where bees have already hatched out. And the queen will come back and lay more eggs. Quick queen scan, just in case.
So she doesn't feed herself, huh?
No,
So how does that
she's a
work?
diva.
Hey guys.
Okay, Nadine, you want to do the next one? So this frame she's going to take out. You see it has a bit of a different color. At the beginning when we started, to give a bit of a kickstart, we bought 2 frames. This is one of them.
Yeah. They love those, huh?
Once you get your fingers in there, they'll get out of the way. Just slowly. That's it. Okay. Lots of bees
Oh
on
my
this
gosh.
one. Lots and lots of bees. Now we see a bit of
Pretty empty,
see a
huh?
bit of pollen up
Yeah,
there. And then over on the inside, so you see lots of uncapped larvae. We see
I gotta
some
see how much.
pollen. Okay.
Yeah, so
so
percentages?
So percentage is about probably
The West
15%.
came moving.
Okay, oh, don't worry. How big it is. Okay, do you want to get it right back inside? That's it. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so that
Awesome.
completes the inspection of the south hive. So time now to check the north hive. The medium super that we had put on top above the queen excluder, absolutely nothing going on. So nothing happening there, not comb development or anything else, relatively few, very, very few bees. So we're going directly then into the second box below the queen excluder, so part of the brood chamber. So this is number 10, nothing on the outside, nothing on the A side, so completely untouched. Frame number 9 on the B side. I'm going to call that 60%, 50% honey, a lot of nectar in the rest. And over on the A side, 9A, I'm going to call that also 50% honey, nectar in the rest. So on the B side, we see a bit of everything. We see honey, about 50%. We see capped brood. We see uncapped brood. So we see a fair amount going on in this frame, a little bit of everything. And then over on the A side, pretty comparable. I'm going to call that also 50% honey. We have a few queen caps. Oh, one of them actually has looks, oh no, I don't think that is a larva inside there. So those are the queen caps.
But
And
there's,
then
but
we
there's a
have-
bee in here, huh?
Yeah, it's got his head stuck in there doing who knows what. And then we have, so a lot of brood, capped brood. On this one we have a bit of pollen, not very much. And let's just get it up into the sun. And I'm not sure that I see egg. So, frame number 6 on the B side. It's all about brood. So we got a crescent of honey, we call that 40% honey. The rest is brood, small amount of pollen. Over on the A side, fairly comparable, bit less brood. Honey about a third, say 35%. Capped and uncapped brood, small amount of pollen around the edges of the honey and a bit at the bottom. And I see lots and lots of, well, I see everything. I see eggs, larvae in all stages, uncapped, and then of course all the capped larvae. Seems to be a substantial honey frame, so that's all about, mainly about honey. A lot of that is capped, about half is capped. There's also reasonable amount of pollen, and then the rest is nectar. So that was the B side, 5. Over on the A side, wow, lots of honey in various stages. Nectar to fairly nice golden liquid to capped. So frame number 4 feels also reasonably heavy. Comparable looking frame, nice big crescent of honey, call it 50%, and the rest is basically brood. There is some pollen here and there, maybe we'll say 15% pollen, and the rest is capped and uncapped brood. That's the B side, 4. Over on the A side, very comparable. Frame number 3, a bit lighter. Honey, oh that's interesting. They've been eating some of the honey cells. You can see where they've uncapped some of the honey, so they're probably eating some of their stores. I'm thinking we might see actual reduction in the total volume of honey in this hive, we'll see. But so I'm going to call that 25% honey, and then there is nectar in a lot of the rest. No brood on this one. That was 3B. On the A side we have some drawn comb, but nothing in it. So as a reminder, it's August the 15th, so this hive is not doing very well. So we're going to add a feeder. It's 1 part sugar, 2 parts water. So 1 liter of sugar, 2 liters of water, so 3 liters of liquid. And we're going to put it here inside the hive in frame position number 10 on the second box, in the expectation that the bees will now use this for creating winter food. And this will be in supplement to what they're getting out into nature. Okay, frame number 10, absolutely nothing on the B side. On the A side we have honey and drawn comb. Okay, frame number 8, drawn comb but nothing else on the B side. Boy, very light. On the A side we have honey. We can see again, looks like they've already been consuming some of this honey. You see it's the odd cell is uncapped and vacated, so that's not really good. So it looks like the bees are consuming more than they're adding. So we're hoping that that syrup we just put up above is going to help them to catch up and get ahead. So frame number 1 on the bee side, much more about honey, call that 65%, but the same thing, same pattern. We can see that they've been uncapping some of the honey cells and taking that out to feed either themselves or newly emerged bees. So that's too early in the season, I believe, for that to be happening. It's not a good sign. And then over on the other side, exactly the same thing. So you can see quite a number of the formerly capped honey cells that have now been uncapped. And the bees are working away. I'm going to call that 45% honey. So we're just closing things up, but to summarize, on this north hive, it's running substantially far behind, and I'm a little bit concerned that it's falling even farther behind, so that it's already starting to consume some of what it had set aside normally for the winter. We didn't see the same thing happening in the other hive. So I guess there aren't enough foragers, enough bees in this hive out there collecting nectar, bringing it back, converting it into honey to feed the rest of the population. So we're going to stimulate that. We decided to stimulate it by adding a feeder full of sugar syrup, and we'll see if they'll use that to more quickly start to set aside stores, feed themselves, and set aside stores for the winter. And we'll check it in a few days to see how the feeder is doing. And I'm guessing they will be after that pretty voraciously, and that we'll need to top it up relatively soon. So I'm going to put this hive back together, and with that, we're done.